What is up, everybody? Isaac here with Civil Engineering Academy. Excited to be with you on another podcast episode. Thanks for liking and subscribing. Thanks for tuning in and sharing this stuff. It's appreciated. Appreciate you doing that. Today, I bring a special guest on. His name is Sudarshan Kasera. He actually is a structural engineer that specializes in communication towers. He's working for a company right now called Crown Castle and doing project management for them and designing some awesome stuff with lattice towers for comm sites. And I wanted to bring him on to talk about this niche that he's in because I think it's a pretty cool world to be a part of. If you are a structural engineer or looking to get into that world, then this is going to be one you're going to want to listen to. So he has a wealth of knowledge. He talks about the value of getting that FE and PE as well as looking towards your SE. If that's in your world, he's looking at that as well. But we detail his journey coming from India to the United States, getting his master's degree and all of that fun stuff. So this is a really cool podcast. I think you're going to enjoy it in this niche market. And as they say, and I mentioned this in the podcast, the riches are in the niches. So definitely you want to check this one out. So without further ado, let me get to this interview with Sudarshan. And I think you're really going to enjoy this. It's going to be coming up right after this. See you in a minute. All right, Sudarshan, we are rocking and rolling. Thanks for joining me today on the Civil Engineering Academy podcast. Appreciate you doing this with me, even though I'm mobile today.
Yeah, thanks, Isaac. I'm glad to be here and excited as well. I hope this goes well. Thank you.
Yeah, it should be great. I always love to kind of kick these off, just kind of asking about your own background. So what do you do for a living right now, and kind of what was your history of getting there?
So currently, I'm working as a senior project engineer at Crown Castle, and basically, I am a structural engineer working in telecommunication industry. So we do a lots of structural analysis of towers. Towers are basically structures where all the equipments from the customers goes on there. Towers can be of different type: monopole, self-support tower, and guide tower. And going back to my inspiration to become a structural engineer, I think when I was growing up, I have seen a lot of construction activities around me. I grew up in India, so being in a country where construction is mostly going on all the time because it's still developing. So I've seen construction of roadways and buildings and residential areas. So that kind of motivated me to pursue civil engineering as my career. I completed my bachelor's in India in civil engineering and then worked for 2 years in the city of Mumbai in the state of Maharashtra. So in India, I used to mostly work with industrial structures related to thermal power plants and nuclear power plants. It was then when I was working, I felt a need for a master's degree to advance my career and to grow professionally because I was using softwares at that time to create models, and then analyzing the results was not that easy with just a bachelor's degree because finite element analysis and things like that you learn in master's degree. So that's when I decided to do my master's and come to USA. And I completed my master's from University of Cincinnati in Ohio, and then started working as an engineer in a company in Dallas. After working there for 2 years, I moved to Crown Castle. And over here, my work profile varies a lot. I do a lot of structural analysis of towers. I help internal teams with maintenance related questions. So basically, my aim is to maintain the structural integrity of tower and provide solution to maintain the towers and its safety.
That's a unique position. It sounds actually really interesting. I'm involved in transmission design work in the utility world, so there's a little bit of crossover in probably what we see out there. So, and I'm curious though, have you had the chance to work on transmission related lattice towers as part of this, or has it mainly been for other uses?
No, I've mostly worked on lattice tower related telecommunication engineering, telecommunication towers, sorry. But however, nowadays I have seen customer equipment like antennas going on transmission lattice towers as well, wherever possible. But then I think the analysis for those lattice towers are done within the transmission industry and they don't come to us. So, yeah, I have not worked directly with transmission towers, but I know some like the softwares they use like PLS CAD and then
Yeah.
there's the ASC code which they use. So I understand like ice loading is a pretty important loading working with transmission structures.
Well, that's fascinating. Has there been ever a favorite project or something that you've worked on that's been memorable in all of these experiences that you've had?
Yeah. So right now, like I said, I work on a lot of stuff in my day to day. So I always feel motivated addressing comments from the jurisdiction. So when we submit our structural analysis report and construction drawing, jurisdictions comes up with lot of comments, and some jurisdiction more than the other, especially the jurisdiction in California. They will have a lot
Mhm.
of comments. So I always find it fascinating and challenging to address those comments to get our documents through permitting. One of the jurisdictional comments or I was reviewing was for a telecom tower. Again, it was a monopole structure, and they had a lot of questions about why are we using exposure, different wind exposure, like why the wind exposure is being used as C and not D because it was close to the coast, and why the topography is not being used on this tower. So then we provide solutions or resolution based on ASCE and TIA code, which outlines how the exposure and topographic features should be used. It depends how far the tower is from that topographic feature. If it's too far inland from the feature, then the KZT value will come out to be one after all the calculation. So
Mm.
doing all those calculation and providing solutions to our customer and our internal team in getting through permitting, I always find it challenging and fascinating.
So for a lot of our listeners that maybe aren't structural related, what are kind of some of the what are some of the most common codes and standards that you're diving into when you're designing these kind of structures?
So the TIA 222 is the most important code for design of antenna supporting structures, and it also provides guidelines for analysis of existing structures. And now TIA 22G has revisions like Rev G was first came in 2006, and our next revision Rev H was released in 2017. Now the latest revision is Rev I. So basically that is going into effect now in some jurisdiction who has adopted IBC 2024. Otherwise, we are still using Rev H and transitioning to Rev I. Other than TIA 222, the code that complements the TIA is IBC, of course, which is like the very important code for overall building industry. So jurisdiction will adopt the IBC, and based on the IBC, we will use the TIA code, which TIA revision to use. Similarly, ASCE 7 provides the load combination, wind loading, seismic loading, ice loading data, and another code is AISC. Since these are steel structures, AISC 360 plays an important role in analyzing and designing steel members and connections.
That makes sense. Do you get involved in as well as the tower itself, but the foundations as well, or guide structures, or all of these guide, or what kind of foundation types are we dealing with?
So mostly drill pier foundation is very predominant in this industry, but you will often see pier and pad, unit-based foundation. So if the structure is guide, like there are typically three types of tower. One is monopole, which is like a pipe-like structure from top to bottom. Of course, the diameter is a lot higher than a regular pipe. And then there is lattice structure, which can be self-supporting, or guide structure, with they are supported by guide wires and then supported at the base. So foundation for guide structures are mostly unit-based foundation or a pier and pad at the base, and the wires are supported by anchor blocks on three corners or four corners, depending if it's a three-sided tower or four-sided tower. So overall, I would say drill pier foundation, pier and pad, and just pad foundations are a more predominant in this industry. And depending on the topography, if it's like there is rock within certain few feet of the tower foundation, then you will also see rock anchors and sometimes micropiles on these foundations.
Could you also give us maybe high level, like what are some of the softwares that you're typically using to help with your lattice tower design and as well as your foundation design?
Yeah, there are some softwares which are available in the market like TNX Tower, MS Tower, ESA 3D, which are predominant in the industry. Now, TNX Tower, I think, is the most used in the US amongst others. Some companies or some vendors will have their own in-house software, but TNX Tower is the most used tower. It is easy to use, like loading input in terms of equipment that is coming from the carrier, like the antennas, radios, and feed line. There are customized inputs made in TNX Tower for these, so which makes it easier to analyze the tower. And then you can also enter the topographic factors, exposure category, and wind speed and ice loading in TNX pretty easily. So it's also compatible with RISA 3D. So if there are certain part of the tower you want to analyze in RISA 3D, then you can export the model from TNX Tower to RISA 3D to do that. So I would say, yeah, TNX is the most important software being used in the US now. Along with that, RISA 3D, MathCAD, Excel tools are also used to do some
Hmm.
customized calculation.
Okay, so seems like there's quite a bit of knowledge with codes and standards as well as the software side of things. Would you have any tips or advice for an engineer that would like to start exploring this field? What's the best way to kind of get into it?
I would say the best way is to like networking because if you know people in the industry who are structural engineers or related to the industry, like project managers, then you can get into it. If you're already an engineer and have good knowledge of steel design or even the basics of steel design, if you have studied in college and have are conversant with all types of foundation system like drill, pier, and pad, then it's pretty easy to get into the industry. You learn a lot during job when you're working, because of course you don't do tower design or tower analysis when you're studying. You mostly do buildings or bridges, but the basics remains the same. Like you're designing steel members and connections like bolted connections, welded connections here, and similarly you're are doing anchorage of anchor bolts that goes into the foundation supporting the tower. So if you have good knowledge of that, the industry is open for you, and just network, know people, and if you see any opening in the companies, then go ahead and apply for it.
Um, how valuable in your career has it been to get your FE, your PE? Are there requirements now that you're designing these to get your SE license as well, or is that state dependent?
Yeah, the SE license is of course state dependent, because a few states like Illinois, Hawaii, and some jurisdictions in California, they require SE stamp to get permitting, but otherwise, most of the other states, PE is sufficient for working in this industry. So I feel it was very important to advance my career to get my FE, especially, and then after that PE was more important, because then I can stamp essays and I can be like I can review and approve work done by others. So that was a very important mark in my career. After getting my PE, I also went on to pursue uh, professional engineering license in California, which requires an additional exam, that is surveying and seismic related exam. So I took that as well. So now I have professional engineering license in almost 10 states. So it has helped me a lot, knowing the requirement for different states and how they need their reports. Some jurisdiction will have their own wording they require on the summary of the report. Like, okay, they follow IBC, or they will require wording based on local codes, or they will say we follow state building codes. So we'll have to refer to them. So I feel working in multiple states have really helped me to get to know about the requirement of different states in terms of submittals. So I feel getting a PE is a very important landmark for anyone working in civil or structural engineering industry.
For sure. Was that a challenge for you to get those, or did it come easy for you to do that? Would you recommend taking a course? How did you approach that?
I would certainly recommend taking a course because taking a course guides you through the process, like what things are there to study, what part of the code you need to study, what codes are involved, and like doing in terms of analysis and design. Like you need to know steel design, you need to know concrete design, some portion of wood design. So a course guides and keeps you on track to achieve your goal. So it is very important. Otherwise, there are so many codes like ASC, AISC, ASTO. It's very easy to get uh, lost in those codes and not focus on the outcome or the. And of course, a course always gives you a lot of uh, what do you call practice problem to solve. So that helps a lot when you're actually doing solving problems during the exam. That saves a lot of time if you're doing those practice papers. So I feel having doing a course or pursuing a course during this is very, very helpful. And I would say it's a must because I have taken courses during my PE and even California PE. So
Mm-hmm.
my suggestion is to always go for a course. Other reason to go for a course is because when you are working, most of the time you're taking a PE when you're already working in the industry to gain experience. So you have limited amount of time which you can put to get your PE. So again, having a course, it guides you through and keeps you on track because it uh, most of the courses are like, okay, this is a webinar you have to watch, or this is a video you have to watch. So you can time it. Okay, I'm watching 2 hours of video on Monday, and like if there are 40 hours of video to watch, or maybe even 100 hours of video to watch, then you can plan accordingly 3 to 4 months in advance. Like, okay, I'm doing videos for first 2 months and practice problems for the last month, and then taking actual practice test for the last 2 weeks, and then go into the exam. So that gives you a uh, well guided path to pass the exam.
So I'm curious, but for you personally, have you achieved reaching your SE, and do you want SE if you don't have it?
Yes, I want to get my SE. I don't have it. I have tried the SE vertical ones back in 2018, but I didn't pass it. So since then, a lot of other things happened in life. So I think now things are settling down. I plan to take my SE in next 1 or 2 years. So yeah, that's my goal, to at least take SE, part of SE, start taking part of SE. Now SE is computer based and divided into 4 sections. In the past, it was 2 tests like vertical and lateral, and now they have divided the vertical morning session, vertical afternoon session, and same thing for lateral morning session and lateral afternoon session. I know they have made it not difficult, but more time consuming. Instead of 16 hour, it's a 22-hour test.
Hmm.
And there are, I feel, 10 questions which are from book bank, question book bank. So they don't count towards your actual results. So that makes it more challenging. But I feel dividing it into 4 parts would inspire more people. I know it's costly because again, you have to pay your fees 4 times instead of two. But I feel it will inspire more engineers because once you part one section, then you can focus on the next section and then go on to pursue SE.
That makes sense. And working for your employer, has your employer encouraged you to get that? And do they help with the costs of, say, taking a course or taking it?
Yes, over here at Crown Castle, they motivate everyone to become a PE, at least a PE, and anyone interested in becoming a SE. They cover the cost for the courses, for the exams, and everything. Of course, you have to take your PTO for studying if you want to, but mostly they will cover the day on which you take the exam. So I feel overall the structure at Crown Castle is very nice because now most of the engineers working here have a PE. So anyone coming in, they have a good uh, backup, not backup, good resources available to guide them to get their PE. And also they start working under PE right away. So gaining that 4 years of experience is much faster because if you're not work if the company don't have a PE and not start if you don't start working under a PE right away, then your experience may not count when you get your recommendation letter. So I feel it's a very nice structure at Crown Castle. They will cover the cost of the exam and the courses, and then getting your recommendation letters is very easy because a lot of engineers already have a PE.
That's awesome. Did you have a pretty good support system at home too? I don't know if you have wife or kids or anything like that at home. Sometimes it's tough to balance all that.
Yeah, I mean, when I took my PE, I was not married, so I had all the time to myself. So that was an advantage. But since then, I have taken other exams like California PE, and then I also completed my PMP license last year, PMP exam
Wow.
last year. So yeah, you need a good support system for sure. And I think at home you need a good support system and you need a good manager at work who supports you to your professional development and motivates you to go through this challenging test and always helps you when you need him. So that has always happened to me at Crown Castle. I have always been lucky to get good managers who have motivated my professional career. And at home, yeah, my wife has also encouraged me to go ahead and take this test and supports me with time and everything.
That's great. Hey, I'm a little curious about the PMP. Why did you end up getting that, and do you find it valuable in addition to your PE?
Yes, I think I have a PE and I have been working in the engineering or technical field for almost 10 years now. So I thought to have some diversification so that when I get an opportunity to become a project manager or handle a big project, I have that license or a certification with me. Although at this time in my career, I mostly deal with small projects here and there, but I always support my manager with project management stuff if he needs any help. So that helps me with understanding the project management jargon, I would say, because many times you're in a meeting and they will talk about scope item, what is not in scope, and what is initiation, what is planning. Sometimes you may not understand all those jargons. So I feel after taking the PMP and studying for it, I understand the project more nicely and accurately. So I feel PMP is always a plus for a PE if you want to diversify into management areas.
Sounds like a really good combination. And
Yep.
like you said, it does make you more well-rounded, so that's awesome. Um, I kind of want to dive back into your career and maybe as an engineer that's thinking about going this route. But a lot of times, engineers do care about their salaries. Do you feel like going into this world, designing lattice towers, communication towers, you feel like it's a lucrative career, uh, a good choice for engineers to dive into?
I would say it depends which company you're working for. Uh, I have known people where the salary is not very high, but then there are other companies which pay lucratively. So I feel um, salary wise, this as long as you're getting the market range for other structural engineers or other structural field with similar experience, then you should go for it. I don't feel like it's underpaid when we compare to other civil or structural engineers for sure. And of course, we cannot compare with computer science or IT engineers because we will always feel underpaid when we'll compare our salaries with them. Although I feel the liability amount of liability we take as a PE license holder is huge, like safeguarding the in structures and also the safety of the people. So overall, I feel the industry is paying well. So you should not like be hesitant to come into the industry because of the pay scale. And nowadays, resources are available where you can compare the pay. Like if you want to go into buildings or bridges, and if you can always compare the pay what your company is paying for your experience. So I feel pace is moderate, if not like very lucrative. But yeah, it should not be a like hesitant or it should not be a blocker to choose this as a career. Because
Yeah.
one advantage it is a very niche career. Like you are in structural engineering, but designing towers. So there are not a lot many people like there are in buildings or bridges. So there is some amount of subject matter expertise which will matter when you have like maybe 10 or 15 years of experience.
That's true. Yeah, that's a good point. It is very niche. Even in the utility world, it's pretty niche as well, I think. But sometimes they say the riches are in the niches, so maybe it's a good field to get into. But
Yeah.
well, that's awesome. Is there anything else you'd like to touch on about the industry that you're in that would help motivate other engineers to join?
I would say just keep networking, and as long as you've taken steel courses in your college or undergrad or grad school, have good knowledge of foundation systems, this industry is open for you. And yeah, I mean, I have my LinkedIn profile. You can search me by my name. And if you have any questions regarding the industry, feel free to reach out to me. I'll try my best to help you.
Perfect. We're going to link all those resources in the show notes. So if you have any questions, please get a hold of Sudarshan and he will help you out. I think that's awesome. So, anyway, thank you for joining me today on the podcast and sharing your wisdom with us.
Yep. Thank you, Isaac. I appreciate it.
All right. We will
Thanks
talk
for
to you later.
listening.